Well, welcome to Sunday Assembly. This is our 137th assembly ever, and the 62nd online assembly. The people in the room here are the humans, and the people on Zoom are calling them Zoomins. Yes, Zoomins. Hi, Zoomins, humans. We have a media-free zone on the left over here. If you're facing this way, I'm right over here for me. We do stream the assemblies live on Zoom, and we also put them on YouTube after. So if you do not want to be part of their thing, the media-free zone is right over there. Also, we have free childcare available at every assembly for children 1 1/2 up. In that room over there, we have professional childcare people with them, and your children are also welcome to stay with you here in assembly. I think of no better way to start a Sunday assembly on June 21st than to turn it over to Paul and Jeff.
Okay. How many have never been to a Sunday assembly before here? Well, first of all, welcome, welcome. So this is a little song we sing, and you don't know it now because you've never been here before, but I guarantee you that in 20 seconds you'll know the song. Then you can join the rest of us who do know the song, singing like this. Welcome to Sunday Assembly. I look around and must say, to familiar old faces and new ones, we're glad that you came here today. Here's the chorus. We're glad that you came here today. We're glad that you came here today. To familiar old faces and new ones, we're glad that you came here today. And that is how it goes. Now all the newcomers, all the other people, I think we ought to probably stand up and just do this, you know? Because sitting still on 3-4 songs is bad for digestion. Oh, when the assembly is over, we hope that you don't have to run. We'd like to get to know you, so stick around after we're done. Stick around, so stick around after we're done. Oh, stick around after we're done. We'd like to get to know you, so stick around after we're done. Oh, we like to sing songs when we gather, so rock, pop, and ballads we croon. We raise up our voices in verses, and sometimes we sing them in tune. Oh, sometimes we sing them in tune. Oh, sometimes we sing them in tune. We raise up our voices in verses, and sometimes we sing them in tune. And when we're all done with the program, and after we sing the last song, introduce yourselves to one another, and you won't be a stranger for long. No, you won't. Sing, I won't be a stranger for long. Let me hear you now. I won't be a stranger for long. Oh, introduce yourselves to one another, and you won't be a stranger for long. So welcome to Sunday Assembly. We greet you with a wide open door. We're certainly glad that you joined us to live better, help often, wonder more. Live better, help often, wonder more. Live better, help often, wonder more. We're certainly glad that you joined us to live better, help often, wonder more.
I saw some people in the audience doing this, Paul. Is this like from a drinking song?
It is from a drinking song. It is. We'll just dedicate this to the Scottish soccer team who drank all of the Sam Adams in the city of Boston, and then they got more, and they drank all of that too.
Well, this is your first assembly. We already identified who you are. If you would give those people a high five or say welcome to them sometime during the day. We do a little thing where we do life happens. which is, oops, we have someone left alone right there, a new person left hanging. Thank you, David, for making the connection. We like to share the things that happen in our life, so some of the people here have written down the things that have been happening going on with them. I'm sorry? I beg your pardon? Life happens.
Please continue.
Have I done something out of order?
No, I did it out of order, not your fault.
Okay, thank you.
My bad.
Meanwhile, back at the Life Happens, Terry will have his final podiatry appointment with this Tuesday. Yeah, there's Terry over there. Terry just had foot surgery. But I got a shoe on. I want to go rock climbing with people. I want people to go rock climbing with me. Who is that? Andy, right over there. If you want to go rock climbing with Andy, please go see Andy. Andy wants to go rock climbing. He's a new assembler, he's becoming, and he's got a lot of energy, and we love to have him here. Wayne and Diane, where are you? Right over there. Hello, you two. They're living in Vista. The Carlsbad Palomar Airport was wonderful for Diane's recent recent Omaha trip, canceled Omaha trip, got it, to visit and help out her father. Welcome back. I know you were there for a long time. We're really glad to see you here this week. Everything okay? As it could? We have a new kitten named Kermie. He's a handful. Wesley Record family. Where are you, Wesley Records? Where's the kitten? No show and tell. Oh my goodness. And we have someone who's going to share for us. That's Mimi, and we have some slides, I believe. Is that not the case? Yes. Well, let's. Mimi, why don't you come on up and narrate the slides, or you can do it from your chair.
Or not.
Or not at all.
Shake it off now. And where are these slides from?
Where are these slides from? I was
Turkey.
asking. There's Mimi right there.
There's Mimi.
Hey.
Just four. That's four. Those are
Wow. Where is this?
Turkey.
But
We're in Turkey.
you're right, you can tell me the town and I go, oh yes, of course.
Talk her into it.
So
You can lie to us.
I'm so sorry.
So on the left is that's outside of Istanbul. That's going north on the Bosphorus. I took a Bosphorus tour. On the right, that's Fethiye. That's in the southwest of Turkey. It's very Mediterranean, beautiful blue water. It's a beautiful place. The next, that's the Gourmet Valley, also known as Cappadocia, and then that's Love Valley. And then that's in central Turkey. And then on the right is Mount Nemrut, and it's at 7,100 feet. And we can climb all that 7,000 feet, but we climbed pretty high to get there, and you can see there's ice. That's the snow. It's ice, and it's, there I think five or six. There's a mountain, and there are 5 or 6 of those. Actually, they were very high statues, and the heads were cut off, and there are 5 or 6 on one side and 5 or 6 on the other side, and it's historic. There's a long story to it, but it's very cool. I've wanted to see that for decades, and I finally did.
When they finally unearth all the rest of the bodies around those are going to be spectacular. We do things in the community, so if you'd like a chance to help out in the community, we do cleanups and other things, and lots of community events, and Jen is here to tell you about those. Jen?
Good morning. So our next beach cleanup is going to be at our adopted beach at South Shores, which is on Mission Bay, right next to SeaWorld across from Fiesta Island. It's going to be on July 12th, which is the weekend after Independence Day. So we all know during the summer our beaches get a lot of use and there's a lot of cleaning up to do. So it's going to be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. All supplies are provided. We just need you to do the cleaning up. Our question of the day today is about how you are helping often in the community. So if you guys can share up there what you're doing to help often. And if you'd like to get up here and share about what you're doing in the community to help often, see me or any of the organizers, and we'll arrange that. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a life hack. This is we have 2 minutes. Hold on. 2 minutes for someone to complete a life hack, so you cannot go past this time. Are you okay? I'll tell you.
Okay, give me a second. I have to follow my sword on the slides. I flipped the segments. That's my bad. I'm so sorry. And my fingers are not working good, apparently.
Yeah, go ahead. We're starting right in
Okay.
2 minutes. Ready, set, go.
Okay, who can lend me some of their blood? No? Nobody? No takers? All right. This is not going to be a show and tell then. I guess we'll just be a tell. I don't know. Oh my God, I just let my step in. Hi. I'm sorry. So I was leaving my home for work on Friday, and I saw some EMTs down the street in cop cars at a neighbor's house, and my heart was like, oh shit, what's happening? So it turns out that my nearly 90-year-old beloved neighbor had fallen. She was mostly okay, but she's on blood thinners, and her fall had actually reopened a wound. She was on the ground for a while, so there was blood all over the carpet where she fell. And this is a neighbor who walked with me every single day when I was pre-divorce in 2011. And I feel like I owe her everything. She got me through that 50 seconds. Okay, fine. So seeing the EMTs really scared me, but the cops told me she's fine, so it's all right. So the neighbor kicked out the EMTs and the cops once they checked her out. And then another neighbor, Mark, and I hung out with her there until her kids arrived. The other neighbor suggested that her hydrogen peroxide thing clean up the blood on the floor, and I was like, that's a lot of blood. But when the son-in-law got there, we squirted some hydrogen peroxide on one of the blood spots, and it rubbed liquid into the carpet, and it just magically disappeared. So now you know, hydrogen peroxide can make blood magically disappear. And I am not a criminal defense attorney, and this is not legal advice.
I showed you in seconds. I was hoping you'd be closer to the end, but didn't happen. So if you haven't used life hacks, please come see me after the assembly, and we will get you set up because we like to have a lot more of those. Teach us how to do life a little bit better. We have a reading today. Claudia Keller, she's going to be our reading. That's a love poem to my father as he gives my love poem to my brother as he gives my father a shave. Got it. Claudia?
Bending over the hospital bed, my brother brings a blade to my father's cheek, hauls its edges across those iron stalks, erasing thick froth, dense cream, rinsing the razor in a pink bowl. Then again, metal pressed to skin, that sound, follicle scraped from flesh, like tearing open an envelope. It's there. Good news, it says. You are alive. And the ones who love you. Most are here. Touching your knuckles, rest as if there grows on the body a kind of braille. And in this way, my brother harvests the past week, reaps it from the wildling field of my father's cheek, and who could not help but fall a little in love with one so capable as to be able to cull time from flesh, a man who then tenderly presses a damp towel to the jaw of another warm and living man and says, "You look good," and does not want anything in return besides the next breath shaped into a "see you next week."
Thank you, Claudia. We have a great speaker today. Our speaker, Ben Castallena. Dr. Ben Castellana is an on-scene coordinator for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Emergency Response Planning and Preparedness Branch. He responds to oil spills, hazmat incidences, and disasters with hazardous substance components. With a Ph.D. in geology from UCLA, focusing on igneous geochemistry, Dr. Castallena has worked on volcanoes from New Mexico to Kamchatka. He also worked as a consultant and professor of geology at Chapman University and Cal State Long Beach Universities. And Dr. Castellana will stay after the assembly to answer your questions, so please hold them until then. But please, a warm Sunday assembly. Welcome for Dr. Ben Castellana.
So we'll wait till the slides come up, or do I want the? Sure.
Gimme.
All right. So first of all, I have to figure out how this one works.
Down.
Down.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, cool. That makes somewhat sense. Do I have a laser point? Oh, excellent. Just have to remember not to look at it. So I have been fascinated by this particular volcano since I first visited about 1994 on a UCLA volcanology field trip. First of all, just a show of hands, how many people have been to Kilauea? Cool. How many people have seen it erupt? Oh, I have. It's to me, I'm not a spiritual person really, but to me it's the most spiritual thing I'll ever encounter. It is creation as far as I'm concerned, watching that happen. I could watch it all day, all night. And so I've probably visited the volcano probably 50 plus times in the last 25, 30 years, and I've seen a lot of changes over that period of time. So that's what this is largely about, is my observations. Most of the pictures are my pictures with a couple exceptions. If it's really nice, I probably didn't take it. Most of the diagrams are USGS or Park Services. I have not done a lot of new research on this volcano, but I have worked on it, especially during major emergency responses. So a little bit about myself. As you heard, I have a Ph.D. from UCLA. I did my dissertation on a group of volcanoes in Kamchatka. That's very far eastern Russia, for those of you who don't play Risk. And I've spent a lot of time on this particular volcano. I've spent a lot of time on numerous other volcanoes, as well as what I do for a living is largely oil spills, hazmat disasters, and other Stafford Act declared disasters. So a lot of emergency response work. And as a matter of fact, spent the last month, a little frazzled right now because I've spent the last month doing nothing but non-stop emergency response work on oil spills and chemical disasters. And we have one going up in LA right now. So this is kind of a Geo 101, where does volcanism come from? And I'm sort of parsing it by what I'm going to refer to as plate boundary volcanism, and then intraplate volcanism. And essentially about the most safest thing that we can say about volcanism is it comes out of the ground. After that, it becomes controversial. You have to start looking at inferring other things because we can't drill directly into it. We can't do a lot of study to see it actually happening. So plate boundary volcanism occurs where plates are pulling apart, where we have this adiabatic or depressurization, partial melting, like at mid-ocean ridges and that sort of thing, or where one plate is sinking back into the Earth's mantle. There's some very complex geochemistry that takes place that allows water to get into that very hot asthenospheric right around here, and that causes partial melting. It fluxes that part of the mantle, and you get partial melting. And by the way, partial melting means about 5 or 10% of the mantle material. Hawaii is a hot spot. It's intraplate, and it's very different. Hawaii is a very strong hot spot, like Reunion Island or like Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a hot spot as well. And the hot spots are relatively fixed in comparison to the plates that move over them. So plates move at a rate of about 2 to 20 centimeters per year. Hot spots, if they move at all, it's about 0.1, 0.2 centimeters per year at best, according to the folks who model this sort of thing. So the net result is the hot spot is a really good frame of reference for where that plate's been moving. So you have a heat source, and we'll talk about what that heat source is in a second, but underneath, for example, the island of Hawaii, and then as you move to the outer islands, they get older and older, and they start sinking down lower and lower. They're more eroded, there's less thermal buoyancy, so they start sagging down into the ocean. And as a matter of fact, if you look at this picture, you can see that the Hawaiian chain runs all the way up, and it has a little bend right there. You can see how much coffee I've had this morning. So this is about, that little bend right there is about 43 to 45 million years old from dredges that have been taken. And that represents a period of time when the Pacific plate shifted very dramatically. And then there's another one of these right about there, right south of the Aleutian Islands. It's about 72 million years old. And that chain is actually subducting right underneath Kamchatka, where last year, which is my field area from my dissertation. And it's also where that big 8.8 was last year, back in July of last year, if anybody remembers the tsunami issues associated with that. Hotspots are derived, we think, at least the strong ones, are derived from some kind of rising plume that produces a flood basalt. And flood basalts are these massive, hundreds of thousand cubic kilometers erupting in about a 1 to 10 million year time period. The Deccan Traps cover, for example, is a flood basalt province that covers much of the subcontinent of India. If anybody's been to Washington and Oregon, you see the Columbia River basalts. That's a flood basalt, and that's the flood basalt associated with the Yellowstone hotspot. Hawaii oddly doesn't have one. It probably either docked or subducted underneath Kamchatka, and somebody will figure that out one of these days. But the Hawaii part of this is after the big head of this plume, if you can think about this lava lamping off the continental boundary, you just have this tail that's left over, and that tail persists for at least 100 million years. So that's what Hawaii is. That's what the Hawaiian Upper Seamount Chain Trail is, and that's what Reunion is. That's what Yellowstone is, and a few others. Hawaii itself. This is a photograph of Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa from an airplane, Southwest, as you can tell, because I fly cheap. There are 5 volcanoes on the Big Island of Hawaii. This is the active island, and there's 3 active volcanoes. These are volcanoes that have erupted historically in the last couple hundred years. Mauna Kea hasn't erupted historically, but it's still considered to be active. Kohala is probably just what's a remnant of a shield that's no longer going to erupt. Kilauea is the focus of this talk. It is the most active volcano on the island. It's also one of the most active volcanoes in the world. Mauna Loa is this big shield volcano that you see back here. And Hualalai doesn't get a whole lot of press, but last erupted in 1804. So the other thing I wanted to point out about this is we have summit eruptions. This is the summit of Mauna Loa. This is the summit of Kilauea right here. But you'll notice that a lot of eruptions are taking place off of these lines, these rifts that occur down the sides of the volcano. So these rift eruptions are important because a fair amount of what comes out of the volcano is actually erupting out of the rift, not necessarily out of the summit. And that's just simply because lava is like any other liquid. If it's got a path of least resistance, it's going to take it. And it turns out that if you have something that's several thousand feet or tens of thousands feet above the ocean floor, that's not a very stable configuration. It is gravitationally unstable and therefore is actively landsliding off as we speak. And it's cracked and broken along these rifts. And there's good evidence, for example, that in the past, Mauna Loa has cleaved off a very large chunk right here, probably 100,000 years ago, landslid completely off. And there's no reason to think that's not going to happen again. So I will talk about summit eruptions, and I'll talk about rift eruptions. Let's talk about the lava. The lava is predominantly basalt. Very rarely do you find anything else. It's this gray to black material that weathers to a reddish color as the iron oxidizes. This particular one has some olivine crystals in it and also has these vesicles from escaping gases. Very common. It's also a very low viscosity as far as lavas go. Now, this is still about 3 orders of magnitude, 3 to 5 orders of magnitude greater viscosity than water. Nonetheless, it can move at a pretty good clip. And this is from the 2018 event. And by the way, these 2 interns right here, interns are disposable. The other thing I want to say, this is the USGS, not my agency. They're orange shirts. Yeah. So, when I was an undergraduate, 10 years prior, the institution that I was going to school at wouldn't allow women to be geology majors. And that was incredibly common across the country. And the reasons for that were quite stupid. And then it's so refreshing to see 2 female geologists standing much closer than I want to be. So I just wanted to point that out. So that's viscosity. So now I'm going to get into the whole business about the actual history. And I started in 1955 because I think that we're kind of in the middle of this sequence again, only a much bigger version of it. But it also starts off, there was a period of quiescence from about 1935 to 1955 where there was no activity whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, in 1955, we had a Loris Rift eruption, which is the green stuff right here that you see. And a fairly large eruption took place. It burned a few villages. And then it stopped, and then there was an eruption, a fairly massive eruption, Kilauea Iki, in 1955 to 1960. That stopped, and then there was another eruption down here at near Kapoho crater. So these lower rift eruptions are important because what has to happen is that lava has to travel underground all the way down the rift. And remember, it's a big crack. This is a big separation, and it goes pretty deep. There's several thousand kilometers, 7,000 feet deep. Not kilometers. And then after that, there was a period of quiet, and then, I'll go back to that one. And then there was the Mauna Ulu phase, and that's what the yellow stuff is right here. And that was largely along chain of craters, and some around the summit as well. And you can see here, for example, there was a lot of activity in 1974, down here, Chain of Craters Road. And by the way, this is where Kilauea Iki is. There was a pretty spectacular fire fountain eruption and lava lake that developed here. Then in 1983, the Pu'uo'o phase, and anybody who visited from that period would remember, you probably wouldn't see Pu'uo'o because it was kind of hard to get to. I flew over with a helicopter a long time ago. But you could actually walk down and see lava erupting into the ocean. You can walk up to lava like this. It's very passive. Some people were stupid enough to be close enough to touch it. No accounting for Darwinism, right? And that's what this red stuff is right here. That is this period of time. And 25 years, a pretty steady state. There's some major shift that's going to happen about 2008, but for the most part, there's very little activity at the summit until about 2008, and a lot of activity at Pu'uo'o. Then in 2008, a lava lake developed. This is Kilauea proper. Kilauea Iki's just up here. Then this is Hale Ma'uma'o. And tour buses used to pull up right here, and you could walk over and look into it. There wasn't anything going on, but a lava lake developed here. And when that happened, the amount of hydrogen sulfide gas and other volcanic gases coming out of that became so great that the entire western part of the park was closed. They closed the road, you couldn't go back there, and our agency put a whole bunch of monitors out to give people an idea of just whether or not conditions are dangerous. The trade winds blow across here like this, so much of this part of the park is untouched, but the area down here was getting quite a lot of bog, which is the volcanic gases plus all the other atmospheric garbage. So these are, you can tell I didn't take this one because it's a very nice picture. But I did take these, and this was on my birthday in January of 2017. I was, the new administration was just coming in doing some horrible things, and I was in a really bad place about where my job might go. And it's 2017, mind you, not 2024. And so I decided I'm just going to go out in the middle of the night and go walk right up to the edge of this thing. And maybe at this point I was kind of wishing that I had my wedding ring from my first marriage, because it would have been kind of a fun thing to just throw. So in 2018, everything changed. This was initiated in about April of 2018. There was a whole bunch of seismic activity in the Lower East Rift. And then the ground opened up in Leilani Estates, which is a community in Puna, way down gradient. So this is probably about no more than about 500 to 1,000 feet above sea level, as opposed to Kilauea is up here about 4,000. All right, so there's quite a big drop between these two. And then, in early May, there was a 6.9 right here, fairly deep, off the coast. And during that 6.9, the entire south flank of Kilauea slid 4 feet south. And that opens up the entire rift. And so all of a sudden, all this magma that's sitting up here in this magma chamber at Kilauea, it's like flushing the toilet. If you hit the lever, it's got a pathway to go, and it just starts emptying out. And it comes and it flows down and comes out in this neighborhood, and also in this geothermal plant that was just south of that. And so there were just these massive fire fountains, and first rifts, and then once a rift forms, then it eventually kind of figures out where the path of least resistance is, and then just forms a little crater, or in this case, a very big crater. And the size of the eruption was huge. It was about 1 to 1.5 cubic kilometers of stuff came out in a matter of months. And it all flowed down. First it went down to the beach that way, then it found this pathway, wrapped around a Kapoho crater here and erupted along and went into the ocean along here, filled in this, this bay that used to be here. And this is what it looks like from a very small boat rolling in the ocean out from about right here. And this eruption was a federally declared disaster, so we went out there and installed air monitoring for most of the towns, not just in Puna, but all the way around the south and even in Kona, because the trade winds would wrap this bog around and would come back up and swirl up into Kona. At the summit, the very first thing was the lava lake started dropping almost immediately. As soon as the seismicity started, the lava lake would drop. And then when the lava lake hit about 900 feet below, that's where groundwater was. And the USGS said when that happens, groundwater will start pouring into the edifice, pouring into the opening, and it will explode. And that's exactly what happened. The USGS nailed this to the day. It was really impressive. So we got these massive explosions happening. Then as the magma chamber starts to empty out, the roof is no longer supported, and it starts to collapse. And so what we would get is a bunch of earthquakes, sometimes a very big one, like a 5-point something. And then it would collapse a little bit more, and then it would collapse more and more. And what we wound up with here is about 600 meters of drop between May and August of 2018. So the difference is, you can see this picture here, what it looked like before and what it looked like after. The road of the road that went around Kilauea, part of it fell in over here. The bus stop where all the tourists used to go over here fell into the volcano. So that's no longer there. It was pretty impressive to be there for these events. Even though I couldn't go into the park because it was completely closed off. They wouldn't let us in. I wanted to go anyway. This picture was taken in about 2021. For the longest period of time, for a couple of years, there weren't any eruptions. And there was no, and so eventually there was a little lake that filled into the base, and that was about it. You can go look at the lake, and that was it. And then sometime around 2021, it started erupting again at the summit. And this is around 2021 here. You can see how big deep the walls are here. And you have to look over really hard to find it, to see it. And this was about a week and a half ago. Wow. Right before I got on a plane to fly home, and then it erupted the day after. Oh, I've seen it a bunch of times. But yeah, I was a little torqued. But you can see how much it's filling back in. Right now, the level is right around where it was pre-collapse. So this is a pretty substantial amount of new material refilling this this caldera, this collapse structure. And since 2024, there have been these cyclic eruptions that about every 2 to 4 weeks, and for about 8 to 20 hours, this thing will erupt. And the eruptions are pretty spectacular. There's a lot of fire fountaining, very aggressive fire fountaining. By aggressive, I mean 1,000 feet high, 1,500 feet high easily. Just sometimes shooting off in multiple directions. It's really impressive, then it just goes away. So you can't really plan to be on the trip over there, except for USGS actually does measure the tilt data. And so what's happening is underneath it kind of balloons up, and then the eruption happens and the tilt drops. And these are microradians, so there's not a lot. It takes a lot of very sensitive equipment to measure this. So that's about all I have. Do we have, let's see, can we make the thing move? There. So I just wanted to leave it at that.
Doctor, that was fantastic, so interesting. Paul and Jeff are going to lead us in the song Nothing More, one of my favorites.
So some of us are new and we don't like to assume everybody knows everything. So let's just sing the chorus together a time or so and then we'll know what we're doing when it comes around, right? Good for that. It goes like this. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other. Nothing more. Sing that with me. We're love. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other. Nothing more. To be humble, to be kind. It is the giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other. Nothing more. To be bold, to be brave. It is the thinking that the heart can still be saved. And the darkness can come quick. Dangers in the anger and hanging on to it. And we are love. Sing with me. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other. Nothing more. A little different here. Tell me what it is that you see. A world that's filled with endless possibilities. And heroes, they don't look like they used to. They look like you do. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other. Nothing more. We are love. We are love. And we are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. And we are war. We are how we treat each other. Nothing more. We are how we treat each other. Nothing more. We are how we treat each other. Nothing more.
Thank you so much. This is time for a personal moment. This is a part of the assembly where we ask somebody to come up and share a story out of their life. This is how we get to know each other better. Today's personal moment is from Alexis Rickard.
Good morning. Everybody hear me okay? I'm trying not to move around. So this personal moment is about a time 40 years ago and a brain injury ago. So I remember the details perfectly, of course. When I was 5, and I was at Charles Brown Elementary School, not named for the Peanuts character, named for some guy. And this was my favorite year of my entire life. It was my only full year of public school before my high demand religion was like, we don't educate girls, and I got yanked. So this was the time of my life where I was the most free and the most fun, and my favorite was a once-a-week music class. And with Mrs. Crookshanks, shout out to my favorite teacher. So it was November when I was allowed back in music class, because remember, high demand religion wasn't allowed to participate in music through the month of Halloween, which is now my favorite holiday. And I was finally allowed back, and I loved music. So I wanted to volunteer for everything. And this is the story of my very first music concert. And I played an instrument. It was the best instrument in the world. Does anyone know how to professionally play the xylophone? Okay, I'm going to say this next part with a lot more confidence, because of the room. So to play, it's called bing bonging. This is also from the perspective of a 5-year-old. So they brought out these instruments that were 100 feet long, big as a small car, and the brightest rainbow you've ever seen. But they only needed about 6 to 10 of us to play them. So that's the only instruments they had for the Christmas concert in 6 weeks. I'm going to move this. I feel like I'm echoing a bit. And I did the hand raise of my attention grabbing self, the way over, holding it up, not getting up because that was against the rules, but you could be on your knees as high as you could go, leaning over, not allowed to make noise, but doing everything like, wanted this so badly. I'd just been back allowed in music class. It was like me and the 2 Jehovah's Witness kids, and we were like ready to sing. And then they couldn't do the Christmas part of the Christmas choir. So sorry guys, it was just me then, so more xylophone for me. But remember back in the day, this was early 80s, classrooms had 1 million children in them, about 100,000 million. And 6 xylophones were never gonna go around. So of course I didn't get picked. And every music class, every week, they pulled the special xylophone kids out to go in a corner and practice the xylophone, while the rest of us did other musical things like standing and singing. And I was so jealous every time. Now, the day of the concert comes around. We have regular school, regular music class, and then right after school, Christmas concert. And I'm so ready. And they asked if anyone had questions, and I love being the center of attention, and I love a room that has to listen to me talk, so I'm like, every time, hand up in the air. But what I didn't realize is that they were asking for the xylophone kids to raise their hands. And one was missing that day, and they were like, who's doing this? So-and-so and so-and-so. And I raised my hand. You know what, I don't actually think they asked for questions. I think this is just something I did all the time. So, and then the teacher was like, who's the last kid? Who's the last kid? And blinking, and here's me with my hand raised, and she went, Lexi, of course, sorry, Lexi, get up here. And I had a choice in that moment to speak to a room that had to listen to my question, whatever it was that I thought up in my head, which, you know, that lights up all the fun things in my brain, or, for once in my life, hold it down and be quiet. So I did it. It took all of my 5-year-old strength, and I kept quiet. And I walked up to the xylophone bing bongs and got to hold them. I'm sure if you had actually attended the 6 weeks of training, you'd know what the bing bongs were called. And then I got to the bing bong, but they were like, okay, we're just gonna give some last minute advice. And I'm sitting with this, and it is the color of every rainbow color in the world. Again, as big as a VW bug. It was bigger than me, for sure. And I had to sit crisscross applesauce, which they called something racist back in the 80s. And I was so ready to play. And we're not gonna play the xylophones right now. We're gonna listen to our last minute instructions. But I saw a few kids kind of go, bing, bong. So I did a little of that. And they're like, okay, we're gonna sit at the front of the auditorium. We're gonna be quiet. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm one of you guys. How did they not, again, 1 million children in the school, how did they not know I was one of the like 6 to 10 children? And then we go to the choir concert that is like that night. And I sit in the very front row, and my mom is in the front row of the audience, and she's like amazed. She's like, I didn't know you had a solo in the concert. I'm like, neither did I. And she's so impressed. She's like, you kept a secret from me to surprise me? And I'm like, yes. And we are getting ready for the concert. We're all sitting there. And it occurs to me that for the very first time, I don't know how to play a xylophone. I know bing-bonging is involved. And I lean over to the next kid, and with my most authoritative voice, I ask, hey, do you know what you're doing tonight? And they're nervous, and they're like, yeah? I'm like, show me. You're not allowed to touch the bing-bongs. I don't know what they actually said. And I said, no, show me with your fingers. Show me exactly what you're doing tonight on the instrument we all have been training on for 6 weeks. And they said, okay, yeah, it's this. I'm like, great, does it matter which key you start on, or does any of them work? And they're like, the one with the big C on it. Okay, all right, good, I'm glad you know that. You are prepared for this concert. And then thought to myself, took 6 weeks to learn that. 6 weeks, okay, special xylophone kids. And I nailed that concert. Standing
It's always hard to follow Alexis because she tells such great stories. Thank you, Alexis. Our theme for today is volcano, and so I would like to talk about apples. Well, specifically this apple. And this isn't just a random apple, by the way. The warehouse club that I work in recently had 4 pallets of apples by the front fence where I was working. They called it a quad of apples, just this massive amount of apples. These apples first were introduced into the market in 2019, and at that time, 8 apples was $11.99. In this instance, these apples are now $3.79 because this is the 8th year of these apples, and then there were 300,000 apple trees. Now there are 22 million of these apple trees. Before we get to, so the stocking team put it up there, and I looked at it. I saw these apples, and what does what my mind always does, which is I thought of everything that happens and the people that are involved in getting this apple to me. Before I want to talk about that, though, I want to tell you about this specific apple. This apple was originally conceived in 1997 when they started cross-pollinating a Honeycrisp apple with an enterprise apple. Now that's, usually the bees do the cross-pollinating, and sometimes new apples are invented by grafting the apples, but this is a cross-pollination process. So they cross-pollinate the 2 apples. Now the Honeycrisp apple yields, the cross-pollinated Honeycrisp apple yields Honeycrisp apples, and the cross-pollinated enterprise apple yields enterprise apples, but within the apple, the seed is now a new variety. And so they plant the seed and they grow it. And over the course of 20 years until 2017, when the saplings were ready to be cultivated and planted, that's when the first crops of these apples, the 300,000 saplings. There was actually a lottery in Washington State to be able to be the ones to do these apples. The apple was known as WA38, Washington Apple 38th Endeavor. They did a $10 million campaign funded by the Washington State through the Washington Apple Commission and other agencies to promote the new apple variety. Focus groups were held to name it, and because they noticed that the lenticels, which are these little dots on the apple, looked like stars in a galaxy, it was called the cosmic crisp apple. So the Cosmic Crisp apple has the best properties of its grand apples. Like the Honeycrisp, the Cosmic Crisp is very slow to turn brown after you cut it, so it's perfect for charcuterie. You'll see that on the apples that I have in the cart there that I cut a while ago. They're beautiful. And you'll notice the effect this apple can be kept for up to 10 months in cold storage and still maintains its beautiful firm, but not too firm texture and its delicious taste. It's a great all-around apple, the most versatile for snacking, cooking, or decorating, according to the unbiased people at CosmicCrisp.com. But it's a great apple. It's my favorite apple. It's become my favorite by far. But that's not what I thought about when I saw this. I know that these apples, unlike a lot of vegetable crops, have to be picked by hand, and they have to be handled very carefully. So an individual goes out into the field, and they put their bag on, much quicker than this because they're really used to it. And they have to cut the apple from the tree, and they carefully place it in the bag. And when the bag is empty, they have to lower the apples very gently into the bin so as not to bruise this apple. And that's the person I think about. The person who touched this apple before me. And I certainly don't know anything about them. I know they probably lived in Washington State, since that's the only place that these are grown. And that they work in an orchard, that's about it. That's about all I know about them. But I think about these people. This person that picked the apples, they picked them without gloves. So this apple was held in that person's hand who's harvested it from the tree. And I think about them working and pulling the apples from the tree and gently placing them in the bag. And I think about the dirt under their feet. And I think about the wind blowing on them. I think about the trees all around them and the shade they might have. And I think about the hard work that apple picking is, and I think about their gentle handling of it. And I feel connected to that person in this way through this apple. And that's the way I've always thought about everything. I always think about the human component and what was involved in bringing the thing to me. In the work that I do, I have small interactions with hundreds of people every day. And when I see people that I've never met before, well, some of them I see all the time because a lot of people shop at my warehouse over and over again. But I say hello, and I give them a smile, like I'm really happy to see them. And that's because I'm really happy to see them. They're my fellow humans. I endeavor to treat each of them with respect and meet them where they are in the moment. This is the way I was brought up. These are the things that I learned when I was a child, the ideal to treat people with respect, and to treat them with dignity, and to treat them well, the way that I want to be treated, and to acknowledge their hard work, to be appreciative and grateful for the things that I have as a result of it, like this apple, and to acknowledge their humanity. When I meet people, let me find my first example here. I am sorry about that. When I think about people that I meet all the time at the warehouse where I work, people that have had a full life, and but now who live alone, and they don't have their family or friends nearby, or they don't have friends or a family that's extant, and when they come in, they want to chat, and I think what their lives might be like, and how lonely that is, and how I could offer them just to be able to listen, and what that might be in their lives. I think it'd be hard to think about how it would be to not have a community that cared about you. If I had not in my life a community to call my own, and how much it might mean to me to have somebody who sees me and somebody who listens to me. I think about people who come to this country hoping for a better life for themselves and the future for their families, and the hard work that it is. And I think about how hard they have to work to make it. It's hard to get by for anyone these days, but especially so if you don't know the language or the customs or the expectations. And I think of what welcoming kindness and openness might mean to that person. I think about people I meet who are struggling with addiction, who are tired of being tired and sick of being sick and just can't stop. And I identify with them. I've been there. I know how powerful caring compassion can be. But think about people who are in situations where they can't be who they are, or they're afraid to be who they are, and who face challenge, and I think what kindness and understanding might be for them. I think about people who have physical limitations, and who face challenges big and small. And I think, well, I put myself in their place, and I think what it would be like, and what I could do to help them. And I think what openness and acknowledgement might mean to them. I think about people who, in their darkest moments, think about giving up. And I want them to know that I care. I think about people that I meet on the street, that are around the warehouse where I work. There's lots of unsheltered people. And I think about what it's like to sleep on the street, and where do they wash, and do they have food, and are they alone, or do they have company? And I think about what an act of thoughtfulness might be to that person at that moment. It's in this way, as with the person who picked this apple, I feel connected to them. I feel connected to everybody. Because in my 66 years of life on this planet, I've come to the opinion that just like me, everybody struggles sometimes. Everybody needs a hand. Everybody needs kindness and empathy and acknowledgement. And I strive to be the person that can provide that for other people. But I struggle with it too. When I think about people who don't think about people, when I think about people that don't care about other people, don't put themselves in somebody's place, I find it very hard to be able to offer them kindness and openness and acknowledgement. So what has this got to do with volcanoes, you may ask? Absolutely nothing. I just couldn't find a way to tie it in. I wanted to talk about the apple and my core beliefs, and volcano, yes! So please join me in my next MC address about apples in 2029 when Washington State releases their next apple called the sunflower apple. Thank you very much. What's coming up, you may ask, and I will tell you right now. Right after the game, I'm watching football. Right after the event here, we have a book swap. So there's a bunch of books and games and stuff. Please, you're welcome to take anything. Some of them have prices on them because they're part of our rummage sale yesterday, which we did sell some luggage, but rummage sale yesterday, and so ignore those prices. You're welcome to take anything that's back there. Have a game for yourself or a new book to read. Also, we have a big 4th of July event coming up here. So if you haven't taken a look at our venue and the view that we have, please do. Because right out on this patio, we're going to watch the big bay boom, and we can see all the fireworks go, a lot of the music here. It's really a lovely event. This year is a little bit different. We've been serving pizza, but this year we're going to do a regular 4th of July event. We're going to have hamburgers and hot dogs and all the fixings and everything that goes with it. And we're really looking forward to having you here. Those tickets are available on Meetup, yes, and that'll take you to the link. These tickets go very quickly. We're only allowed 50 spaces for people in this venue because we share this venue with the people that are the community members for this venue, and there'll be about 100, 110, 120 people here, so please, you want to get on and do that right away if you're interested in coming. And for the next thing, I'll bring Alexis back up. Great job, Alexis.
All right, it's Pride next month, and I was worried because it was the same weekend as the International Sunday Assembly Convention. So, but we do have a mighty contingent going. So if everyone comes and said they were come, and bring all your friends, it'll be fine. The theme is Shine On. This will be July 18th. So we have some sunflower stuff, we have ribbon dancers, we have stuff. You bring you and what's comfortable for you. You do not have to be head to toe rainbow or the theme or anything. Just come and show that we are a good, non-religious, help-often, secular community that loves everyone, and we want to have a good showing there. Also, for the Zoomblers, anyone out of town that I offered to house, it's turning into more like a warehouse. We're out of beds. There's still floor space. Bring your backpacks. Just let me know if you're coming, and we'll fit you in. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. All the details for these events are on Meetup, and here's a reminder that there are all volunteers here, independent donations to keep this whole thing going, including area assembly, Meetup events, community service projects, and other gatherings, all by donation. If you can, stick some cash in one of the jars, or even better, use the QR code in the program to set up a monthly recurring donation. That's really what sustains us and keeps us out of the bad area. We have an opportunity to say hello to the people that are on Zoom. Jen's going to bring them on up here, and there's the center camera where they can see us. Hi, people on Zoom. Jen's going to come up and we're going to say hello to the Zoom-ins. Hi, humans, say hello. Thank you. Who's on there? Let's see. Hi, everybody. Lovely. You know, I think I couldn't tie in the Volcano, but Paul can, because he's going to sing the song Volcano. So how do you like them apples?
I was going to find a song about apples, but this is all I came up with. Little Jimmy Buffett, let's stand up.
Singing
do I step on? That's it. Stay behind for coffee and snack. The book game puzzle swap is happening out on the back of the building there. And our speaker will be here for questions. Thanks to Paul and Jeff for their music.